Yeah, so Dr. Melkamu coming on is assistant professor in the School of Information Science at Addis Ababa University. And he's been working for EIR as a consultant to develop the soil and agronomy data that you heard Dr. Gema talk about yesterday. And so his talk is going to be about that need for data portals and the various generations of data portal technologies and the work he's doing in that.
Okay, thank you. So we are in groups. I will give you some highlight on the works that we have done so far, and later on we will demonstrate the system. So the title of the talk that I gave is Developing Next Generation Data Repositories, and it was the experience of developing soil and agronomy data portal. So the presentation is, I will give some overview of data portal and the soil and agronomy data portal that we have developed, and approaches that we follow to develop the portal, and the software framework that we use, later on the demonstration, and maybe the way forward is the last part. So it becomes like nearly 10 years or more than 10 years since we have been talking about data. In academics, I remember we start talking about data in 2011, something like that. So it is, and maybe in 2019, the UN declared data revolution. So according to this declaration, governments initiate open data program, they publish data set, they start to publish open data portal, they design governance, data governance policies. In Ethiopia, the same thing happened, like the Ethiopian government started the open data initiatives starting 2013. At this time, the government assessed its readiness to implement an effective open data program. The government drafted an open data policy. There was an open data portal, and there were works started to improve open data portals. But right now, there is some gap. For example, the policy is not yet approved. The national open data portal is not working. Even the initiatives to improve open data portal at a national level, they were stopped. So the open data promise accomplished much less in practice in a Ethiopian context. So we assume we need a strategy to strengthen our data system. And the focus of this talk is one type of data system, which is designing sustainable data portal. And an example of soil and agronomy data portal is developed in this project. In fact, it is like an egg and chicken problem, because I remember yesterday we have been talking about implementing, approving policy, but I will discuss about an open data portal or soil and agronomy data portal. So which comes first, maybe, because the policy must be implemented in the data portal, but sometimes to implement the policy or to approve the policy, the data portal can be a prerequisite. So what we do is, if we design a sustainable data portal, it can encourage decision makers to approve the policy. So it can be Okay, so the soil and agronomy data portal that we develop is a portal that can list, capture, showcase all relevant and useful dataset, and that support data analysis and visualization option for soil and agronomy data. The approach that we use to develop this portal, first is we have an initial tour document that states the functional requirement of the coalition of the willing members. So we started with an initial functional requirement document given from GIZ. Then, because this soil and these data portals are new trends, we also interview the cow members, some of the cow members. We also include best practice to design this kind of portals. We also combine data from the draft data sharing and policy and the guideline. It is very difficult to exactly implement what exists in the policy, but what we do is we combine pointers from the policy so that we create a system from that. I think that the functional requirement document has some requirements. Through the discussion with cow members, we understand what these cow members need from the portal. Then we have documented that part. We also study best practice in designing data portals. So what should be the next generation data portals is a good issue. So we study, and we also try to combine the pointers from the policy document and the policy guideline. Though it is not approved, it can give us a hint to develop. So the basic guiding principle to develop this data portal is we assume the principle that is taken in the data sharing policy, which is a fair principle. And there is another important principle, which is as open as possible, as close as necessary. So we would like the data portal to be fair, to fulfill the principle of fair. And we also use the principle of as open as possible and as close as necessary. In the policy guideline, we have requirements like when we combine them, we get requirements. For example, in the policy document, it says describe the fields that will make up each of your data. There are issues like who is responsible for management of the data. There are issues like to create security and integrity of data. There are issues that talks about how we can publish data. How can we give privilege for our data to provide some kind of restriction? How we can make the data portal interoperable? So in the policy document and in the guideline, we have seen that these requirements are stated in one way or in another way. So when we plan the data portal, we want to and from the data portal, one important issue we find is they prefer to have an open source tool. It is in fact an open data promise. We have to use open non-proprietary software. So because of the points that we have in the policy document, we want to select a software framework to design open data, or what you call the data portal. I think we try to compare different software frameworks. Some of them do not support raw data and geospatial data, for example, displays. Some of them focus only on geospatial data, which is GeoNode-like. Some of the data focus on government data, like CCAN. But the nature of the data that we have seen in the research institute is It contains both publication, raw research data, geospatial data. It also contains code or something like this. So we select a software framework that can support this. So we use this Dataverse. Why we select the Dataverse? It is an open source software. It is maintained by Harvard. We have a strong community of support. Many installations are done. So this software framework is selected because it supports the fair data principles. I think we have a mechanism to support the fair data principles. Dataverse can support harvesting API from other repositories and to other repositories. It is interoperable and it can be integrated with other systems. It can give us authentication mechanism via email and username, by institution, even by using Google. And Dataverse can also support a publication workflow because to maintain the data quality, there must be an issue where draft can be published. That draft data can be reviewed by another, and lastly, there is a publisher. So we set this data publishing workflow. Dataverse can support all data types, including publication, raw research data, geospatial data, and this has also admin dashboard to manage users, because we will have different kinds of users. We can we customize the interface of Dataverse in the way we like. There is a mechanism to manage role, there are admin role, curator, contributor, member. There are different kinds of roles that I will show you. Even it can support us to give embargo as we like. Sometimes some data may not be open for the time. It may be open for after 6 or maybe up to 2 years, as it is said in the policy document. So it helps us to give embargo. It can also give us authorization, authorization for different users, authorization for different files. It helps us to give to share data by giving license. It helps us to create collaborative working space, even the draft data. This Dataverse has metadata standards that are compatible with global standards like Dublin Core, and we can also customize whatever metadata standard. We can also export metadata in bulk. There is analysis and the search functions. So because of this, we tried to develop the data portal policy based on the Dataverse, which is these days an open data software framework that can support both publication, journal, raw research data, geospatial data. Even it can help us to visualize tabular data, geospatial data via world map. There is search API, support faceted search, search engine optimization features. There is a plugin to share with social media. So these all are features of. So this is maybe the homepage of the data portal. I think we can customize the homepage more than this once we discuss with this team or members. Maybe some of coalition of the willing members that might contribute data are listed here from the homepage. We have the admin homepage. When you have admin privilege in this portal, you'll see this kind of data. And maybe the content organization of Dataverse, if you can see from the left corner, it is organized in 3 hierarchies. There is a Dataverse, there are data sets, and we have files. This is the content organization. It means, for example, in the homepage, we have three dataverses. You can see a dataverse is like a community in other data portal. It can be an organization or it can be type of data. For example, soil data, agronomy data, climate data these are dataverses. So dataverse is an umbrella or a category that contains, for example, soil, agronomy, and climate data. We can add whatever dataverse we like. So the first is we have dataverse. Then from the dataverse, we have data sets. Inside the dataverse, we have data set. Inside data set, we have files. For example, I have a file called Collecta Agricultural Research Soil Characterization. If you can see, inside this data set, I have files like Collecta Soil, which shows a document or what you call a publication. We have also Collecta Soil, which is a CSV file that is raw data. And we have also Collecta Soil, which is an image. So, inside a single dataset, we can have files. This is the way we organize data in this system. I will show you maybe how to create dataverse or how to create dataset. And a very important issue that is reflected in the policy document is giving role. Even the coalition of the willing members will not have the same role. We have one admin that can have a whole privilege over this dataverse, dataset, and files. We can have contributors, a person who will upload file, a person who will add dataset is a contributor. We have also curator. Curator is a privilege where we can create data set inside a certain dataverse. So we can assign a role in our data portal. For example, we have a role called Lulsagad. We can give for Lulsagad a curator role. Curator role is a person who can create dataset, who can publish dataset. The privilege of a curator dataset is given here. Well, there is another role called Melkamu, and the role is contributor. So person with a role contributor has all privilege on the data. Contributor can submit a draft data, and a curator can review this data, and maybe the admin will publish the data. So there is authentication mechanism to maintain the quality and to avoid unauthorized data use. We can assign a role for a certain dataverse. For example, for soil data, we can give admin privilege for a certain group. For agronomy data, we can give admin privilege for a certain group. So this is the way. Our dataverse or our portal has admin dashboard to manage users. The admin can create other users with different privilege. The publishing workflow will follow like draft, reviewer, and the publisher kind of workflow. We can adjust this as per the need. For example, a coalition of the willing member can publish draft data. To check the quality, we can send this for senior researchers to review. Then once the senior researcher review, the publisher or the admin can publish the data, or even the reviewer can see the data. This is the publication workflow that we adopt considering the policy document. we have metadata. Maybe one of the requirement that is stated in the TOR document and maybe in the policy document is it should support geospatial data. So to support geospatial data, we have geospatial data metadata, and we have some other kind of metadata. For example, some of the metadata fields are geography coverage, country, state, city, even latitude and longitude. These are the geographic metadata that can be attached for data in this portal. Some other citation metadata, some other metadata based on a certain discipline, they can be customized. They can be customized. We can add our own metadata in and we have search interface. You can search based on dataverse, based on dataset, based on file. There is a faceted search. You can narrow your search using this dataset. One of the requirements stated in a policy document and even in the TOR is there should be harvesting capability. So this portal has a capability to harvest data from others, and even the data is harvestable for other servers. There is an important characteristic of a data portal that one is linking capability. We can link data from this portal to others. We can, as I told you, there is social media sharing. It can support all type of data. We can also give license. By the way, the default license for this portal is CC0, which is maybe by default the data will be open because we take the principle as open as possible and as close as necessary. So by default the data is open, but if we need some restriction on usage, we can attach license. We can attach license. Like the default is CC0, but we can customize. Like CC BY and some other open licensing approach are implemented here. So it is up to the data owner to select the type of. We can customize even further metadata. We can give privilege for a certain data. We can restrict access for some file or for some dataset or for some dataset. There is a plugin to register user. Users can register, but there should be approval from the admin for users to contribute. The default is contributor. When a user registers, the default is contributor, but we can make some other. I think there are issues that maybe that should be finalized. Maybe some issues that are not clear from the policy document to implement are, for example, the workflow management system. We can alter it if the need arises. The file organization, what we do is we have dataverse, datasets, and files, but we can also add sub-dataverses as the need arises. We need some decision on the license, some decision on who will be admin, who will be maybe who will be contributor, who will be curator, and there are many other roles that we can define. So remaining tasks like we need IP configuration. I'm now accessing the system from a local server. I think to give public access, we need IP configuration. Once we give IP configuration, we can create geospatial mapping with world map. Then there will be sample data entry. Then training will be given. I think let me share another screen to demo the system. If I have time, I think it is very. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Now let me log out. This is this time my colleagues Daniel and Tadessa will help me if in case I miss a point. So let me. This is. Yeah, this is the homepage of the portal. This is a public view of the portal. Anyone without logging to this portal can see everything that is public. So in this portal, we have what they call data versus soil data, agronomy data, climate data, and we give it as miscellaneous collection. This dataverse, dataset, and file are maybe terminologies. It is like a category. It can be subject. So soil data is a dataverse that talks about soil, agronomy, climate data. So we can add more dataverses. We can add more categories. Even this category can be in terms of organization. Since it is hosted in EIAR, we put the logo of EIAR. Maybe many of the members of Coalition of the Willing are in the EIAR. So anyone can register from this. This is registration button. Anyone can register, but anyone cannot contribute unless there is admin privilege, unless the admin approve. Let me show you by login using the admin account. Sorry, yeah. So now I logged in the admin account. So once I log with the admin account, I have privilege like I can add dataverse. Dataverse is any category of, for example, I can, for example, water data can be a dataverse. The important thing when we create a dataverse is we decide the metadata. Look, here we have, we can select, if the data is about social science, we can select the social science metadata. If the data contains geospatial data, we can add. So when you create what you call, there is a category name for metadata. Let me call this one as research project. So I create a dataverse. So I create water data dataverse. Once I create water data dataverse, I can give what we call permission who will manage this dataverse. It is very important. For example, from the user groups, I can assign role. I don't know which user I register. I don't remember. Yeah, for example, there is here is Lul Sagad. Then I give a privilege for Lul Sagad. If I give the admin privilege, Lul Sagad has all the privilege, like including the other dataverse. So I will give a curator privilege. So Lul Sagad has all the privilege to manage this verse. This is the dataverse. So once I create a dataverse, inside this data, I can have dataset. To create dataset, maybe water data sample. Let me fill important attributes and mandatory attributes. This is a sample. Then I add file. I think let me add a file, a random file. Let me add this logo for the time. It doesn't matter. Then I save data. There must be a field that is not optional. Admin. Yeah, you have to select the subject. Says, let me call it as agriculture. Yeah, I am not successful. So I have what we call inside a dataverse water data. There is a data set called water data sample. Here is a sample. You know, I can add metadata for this sample. Here is the metadata that I have completed. If I add metadata, you can describe this data in different ways. You can describe the metadata in different ways. Even you can see this geospatial metadata. Look, the geospatial metadata. The good thing is you can also add some other metadata. Here is a customization. I can customize. I can add additional attributes. The metadata standard adopted here, for example, the citation metadata is compatible with WLINCOR and some other global metadata. Vocabulary ontology issue to avoid. So once you edit your metadata, you can save. Okay, so Lulsagad can manage this dataverse as he like. He can add dataset, he can add file, he can give privilege for others to manage. But there is a top admin who give privilege for Lulsagad. That is the admin. This is the way we organize system. Yeah. Okay. So in the system we have a search option. We can search data by saying, for example, water. So if I search, I get the dataverse. I can also search the what we call the others, like I have soil. I can get soil. Inside soil dataverse, we have datasets, two datasets. We have files like this. We have files. By the way, there is also what we call faceted searching. Here is the facets. We can narrow the facet clicking or by adding and removing some facets that are not important. Maybe if I go to my data and there is another dataverse which is called I don't know. yeah, cow community is one dataverse that is not public. If you see, we have a community called the cow, but that was not public. So we can make some part of the data private. We can restrict some part from being seen by the public. So from the cow community, there is a file, Holeta Agriculture Research. This is a data set. Inside the data set, there are different files like Holeta, the PDF version, we have the CSV version, and we have the image part. We can download this data. We can download this data. In the image, in the CSV part, we can also download in different versions. We can even directly import to R. When we have a map, we can also visualize using a world map, a feature that is not yet developed because of public IP. And we can give privilege for others. Yeah, we have the admin console, which I call it as admin dashboard. Using this admin dashboard, we can manage users, all users that I created, like Lulsaged, Melk, member, Tadese. These are users. They have different privilege. For example, a member user can only see the data. He cannot edit, cannot modify, something like this. So we can give different kinds of privilege. It is up to the policy. It is up to the policy to implement who will see what. So in our design, what we do is admin will see everything. He is a manager of the data. The curator will manage the certain category, the dataverse, and members. Members can also see. Okay. Yeah, the search interface and some other options, like in the admin privilege, there is also this harvesting option. We can harvest data from others. Our data can also be harvested to others because open, there is that principle of as open as possible and as close as necessary. Data sets that are open, that has zero license, should be harvested to other systems, maybe to ethos or to other systems. So we have an option for other servers to harvest our data, and we have an option to harvest from others, because there should not be always data entry. We can also move data sets from dataverse to dataverse. There is this privilege. I think this is a few demonstration. My colleagues can add. My colleagues can add, and maybe we can also answer questions maybe later on if a need arise. Thank you. So,
thank you, Melkamu. That was very interesting, and it was nice to see the portal, see how it works. So we've got a few questions coming in the chat for you. Where can I start? Let's say, there was a question asking about whether the system is up already right now to upload data.
Yeah. So may I reflect now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I am demonstrating the system not from the server, from my computer, because I am accessing it. but not remotely, like I am accessing it with a local network. So as soon as we get the public IP, which will be configured soon, it can be hosted.
Okay. Good. Then there have been some questions coming in around data quality control. Somebody asked, does the system have an automatic data quality control method? If so, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, there are different methods implemented here. The first is we provide a publication framework. Anyone cannot publish. So, for example, authors, coalition of the willing member authors can publish a draft data that cannot be public. So we have a reviewer in between, so that a reviewer can check the quality of the data. Then the reviewer can reject the data, or it can be published. One mechanism to maintain quality is by putting a reviewer inside, and the other is the metadata. Using the metadata, like the citation kind of quality issues are there. We have mandatory field lists that should be fulfilled, mandatory field lists. The system can maintain quality by using those mandatory field lists. We put field lists that should be filled. So this is one mechanism to maintain quality. And according to the need of the users, we can have all the features. We can, it is like, we did every feature. It is like selecting. Okay, if someone say like, I want to maintain quality by using this authorization mechanism, we can quick fix it.
Cool. Thank you very much. There were some questions about why you selected Dataverse. Somebody asked, can we call it next generation database management system?
Yeah. In fact, I am a member of some coalition. Maybe I am chairperson of the Ethiopian Academic Libraries Association. That association is a member of one organization that works about next generation data repositories, and we listed what features should be fulfilled in the next generation repository. So when we assess those features with the Dataverse, I think in Dataverse all are there. There is a strong community of support to database. Harvard is maintaining the system. There are communities globally who manage Dataverse. So I think there are all the features. So anyone can ask me by saying that which features are not available in Dataverse.
Okay. There was a bit of discussion around maybe it's something that can be taken up after with your colleagues like Habtamu and Dr. Losegard around how best to categorize the Dataverse, whether it should be thematic and what are the methods you could use. So yeah, there's a suggestion to discuss that further.
Yeah, that is normally a decision that can be, that should come from a coalition of the willing members. The system we can categorize based on thematic areas by saying like soil, agronomy, or like that. We can also categorize based on organization. We have even some other kind of categorizing dataverses. So it is up to the user. I am not from the user side, so I may not know exactly which one is appropriate categorization. So it is like adding a dataverse. It is like changing the existing dataverse and their hierarchy. So we can do the way they like.
Great.
But from our need assessment, what we understand is, from my discussion with Lud Seked, he said to me, I don't like initially it was arranged by saying coalition of the willing, EIR, Ministry of Agriculture, civic society organization. It was this kind of arrangement. And when I showed to Lud Seked representing the coalition of the willing member, no, I don't want to see Ministry of Agriculture, coalition of the willing, something like this. What I need is the data. I want to see soil data or agronomy data, something like this. So from our understanding of their need, we categorize like that. But that is easy to modify in other way.
Okay, thank you. So how will this, the ER database be linked, or what is the relationship with the National Soil Information Service?
That is maybe the unfortunate one. I didn't participate yesterday's presentation about that system, but a good thing is Tsagai, who presented the system, is also part of our team. The difference is that one is kind of closed system, a closed system. This one is an open system. By default, the data sets published will be open, unless there are some issues like security issues, national security issues, like privacy issues. So from this data, from this portal, or from their portal, we can import data. We can also export data to their portal once they give us the API. What we made is we let this system to be harvested by others, and we let this system to harvest from others, the good quality of this portal. And the other is, this system is integrated, we can integrate it with other systems. There is linking. For example, if there is a data set that talks about soil from this portal, and if there are further discussions in another portal, we can link it. This is the purpose of linking. If a same issue is being discussed with some other portals, we can link it, even the file level, dataset level, or dataverse level. So even we can build applications on top of this data portal. We make this data portal machine readable. We can write any kind of program that can extract data from this portal. So we make it machine readable. That means if you want, for example, build a map from this data, you can do it easily. If you want to write a program, you can have an R program integrated to this portal. So I think why I like this dataverse is it can be integrated with others. There is an interface to integrate with some programming interface with other datasets. Even we can what you call have a plugin to put data on websites from this portal. So that is why I said Dataverse can fulfill next generation data portal characteristics.
Dr. Losaga, did you want to feed into that? The link to the...
Okay, I think so. Some points to follow up. Number one, the design. I think Melkamu indicated 3 or 4 examples. So the initial thinking was he wanted to have cow, agriculture, AIR, and so on and so on. So my comment was better to have by thematic areas, categorized as soils, natural resources, and so on and so on. So we have not finalized. So he just presented as a demo for today, and we may need to discuss a bit on how best we should organize, structure the portal, the dataverse, so that it's more accessible, and when people want to search something, it is more straightforward. Because if it is by institution, then I have to first go to the institution. If I am looking for livestock data, then I have to go to, I can guess, okay, livestock is more straightforward. But if there is a data set that I want to look for, I have to search all the institutions to look for that specific data. But if it is by design, by content, maybe it's easier to find it. But, it might be the opposite. So that one, I think we need to discuss. Even the configuration, what should it look like when the first people who land in that website, what should they see? It should be to make it more attractive, and also not to make it too heavy. In some cases, it may be very complicated to open if you have a very big, background feature. I remember when I was trying to open the Ministry of Foreign Affairs a long time ago, it takes too long to bring the first thing because of the a lot of things behind. So that one will also need to make it more simplified. And then the quality issue was also, I think Melkamu elaborated on different levels of assuring quality. Still, maybe we may not have time now or today, but we may need to discuss, because there is a point where if the IP person who is managing the dataverse has an issue of a certain quality, or if he is not sure, what will happen? We have some layers of quality assurance levels, but there may be a stage where a decision may not be made by a particular group or IT person. Then what happens to that? The linkage with the NIS, the national data set, with the Ministry of Agriculture, I think the Melkamu and Sagai were in the same team working on the one Melkamu presented. So we are aware that there are linkages. So this one is now, we started with CABI as bringing data sets and, storing them in different places, or in our laptops. We didn't want that. We need to have a system where, an organized system, a database to put those data sets and to be able to share. So people should not ask me because they provide it to CABI to get the data. They have to see it from the database. So that's why we came to establish this, and it's also a capacity building exercise for EIR as well. So the two will be linked, and there should be a possibility to link the two data sets through API or some form. And then the open, I think the one Melkamu presented now is a CABI database, data set storage facility hosted by EIR, and that is the openness is to the members of the CABI, and that openness is based on the guideline. We have a guideline. We have developed a guideline on how, when is the data open, when it's not open, and so on. So we follow that guideline even among the CABI members. So for now, the accessibility is for members of the CABI, and then as we develop, we grow, it will expand, and then we'll find a way how to move to the next level. So I think these are some comments from my end. No particular questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
May I add some from the comments in the chat box? I see that is Dublincor best method for geospatial data? There is a question from Haptamu like this. I didn't say like that. What I said is every data, whether it is geospatial or whatever, we have some citation metadata. Citation metadata in a sense that who is the owner of that data? The name, first name, something like this. And there is an issue of ontology. I don't know how much you are familiar about this concept. The ontology is the metadata that we give should be interoperable with other systems. So Dublincor is like a metadata for giving person and organization names. So what I said is it is compatible with that Dublincor. So Geospatial metadata is another. We also add some citation metadata. I think in this aspect, we are librarians at the same time, so we know about metadata in detail. And the other is, Dr. Lulsaged, we can also, to maintain quality, in addition to the IT people who manage this this portal, we have reviewers in between. We have reviewers in the publishing workflow. Before being the data published openly, we can have reviewers. And the other is, we can make the authentication by organization. For example, the EAIR can manage the data of its employee as an organization. So the way they give privilege can be based on organization. There is this facility. Maybe from the curing features are mentioned. There are many curing features. There is a simple keyword-based searching mechanism, and the other is we have faceted search. We have advanced search. Even for faceted search, for advanced search, we can set what queries to use, and that queries are interoperable using metadata standards. So the searching is becoming easy in this system. Dataverse is integrated with this data site known, and the other is we can directly download data. We can also download data using the HTTP protocol. And the good thing of Dataverse is it gives unique ID for documents. There is DOI. So we can query, we can search by using different parameters. And the unique feature is it gives DOIs, which is very important these days. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Melkamu. That was very helpful. Just one last question I see here from Martin, who's asking, Dr. Wills, maybe you can answer in that. So does the National Soil Information Service have a public face of its own? Will it have a public face? A public interface?
Is this a question for me?
I think Dr. Wills again.
Yeah.
I think it's a guy should be the one to answer.
Yeah, I can. I can. Good morning. I can answer.
Hi. Yeah. Thanks.
I think it's the issue of public face, isn't it? Yeah, it will have a public face section. Some information and data which is believed to be public will reside in the public face of the National Soil Information System. Okay.
Great.
Chipo, I just want to make a remark before Melkamu leaves.
Yes.
Yeah. Melkamu just said the data is by default, the data is by default open. Theoretically, that is so, but according to the guideline of the Coalition of the Willing, the data would be open for the coalition members. That would be incentive to be also a member to the coalition at the moment. In the long term, probably we may develop a confidence within the coalition and maybe decide to review the guideline. But at the moment, the system would be open for the members of the coalition, and whoever wants to be involved has to be a member to the coalition. So I think it's better to take it like that. In addition, there are a lot of questions that are coming also technical or how to use that system. The Melkamu's team would give training to about 25 members of the coalition, which we will arrange depending on the situation. The trainees will function as the trainers themselves there will be training of trainers, and then we follow getting everybody, most of the coalition members on board to be able to use, manage, and so on, and to tightly link also between the portal and the coalition guideline. And somebody was also asking about the standardization guideline. Yeah, the standardization guideline would help us for the quality control. The question related to the coalition, the quality control, but somebody should be there to ensure the quality. Melkamu mentioned about the curator and so on, or reviewer. That should be in place, but that will develop as we go along. And the purpose of this presentation is just to show how much the CAO has gone, what it intends to do, and the short-term and long-term engagement of the coalition will be discussed also this afternoon on how to build on this and other activities and chart our short and long-term directions. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I add? Maybe
we are over time now, but
yeah. 1 minute. I think I have to add some issues on what Dr. Teklu said. What data should be open and which should not be open, it should be decided from the user side. But what we did to implement this part is this system can give, for example, we can make data open for some organizations based on their email domain name. There is a facility to create access for some group of users by using username and password. We can even give privilege for some organization by using their email domain name. For example, a person with email at aau.edu can use. There is a restriction like this. We also made accessing mechanism based on IP range. Computers from this IP to this IP range can use this system. So we provide this technical mechanism. So once you decide who will access this system, we can implement. This feature is already included in the system.
Interesting, very interesting. Thank you so much, Melkamu. This was very, very interactive and interesting discussion, and I think you will continue with the members to really talk about the governance issues of the portal. So now let's take a 10-minute break while we set up for the next session. Let's come back at 1:15. Actually, don't disconnect. Just keep yourself muted. In 10 minutes, we'll resume second session.